Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you got on okay with your end of unit check yesterday and that all went all right. We're moving on to a new unit today. So I'm going to share my screen so that I can go through the PowerPoint with you. Here we go. Okay, so we're looking again still at geometry. I'm going to start my slideshow because it's going to make it a bit easier. So we're looking at position and direction this time. And we've got some new vocabulary, some of which you will know and have seen before, but there might be some words that you may recognise but might not quite remember. So for the rest of this week, we're going to be looking at reflection, coordinates, horizontal axis, vertical axis, and vertices and vertex, and actually the mirror line as well. So they're the words that are important for us for the next couple of days. So we're going to be doing things like this, reflecting shapes in a mirror line and using coordinates. And then we're going to be looking at distances between the coordinates so we can work out how they reflect in different places. Okay, so here's our discover for today. So Mrs. Dean is talking to Olivia and she's got a triangle in the middle of her piece of paper. I put it over on this side a bit larger so you can see it a little bit better. Now she's got 4 lines. You can see the triangle, but it's got the 3 vertices, which are a vertice is where 2 edges or 2 sides meet. Here some people think, oh, is it a corner? It's not a corner, it's called a vertices. If there's one, it's called a vertex, and if there's lots of them, they're called vertices. So it's where those 2 edges join. That little point is called the vertex, or vertice if there's more. Now on our triangle, the vertices are labelled A, B and C. And then you can see there's like some dotty lines around it with L1, L2, L3 and L4. Now they're just labelling the line. They're labelling the red line as like a reflection line. So number 1 says, what will the reflection be when the mirror is placed on line L1? So almost imagine that down this red line here on L1, we're putting a mirror. So if we were to put a mirror, what would the triangle look like on the other side of that reflection line? So we're going to move on and have a look. So here's our share. So this was the shape that we saw with the 3 vertices, A, B and C, and this was our mirror line. Now, way to do this really successfully is that you have to count the squares. You might not have mirrors that you can use at home. We could check these with a mirror, but actually when you're working them out and calculating, it's better to do it actually to start with without a mirror. So I would look at point A and think, oh look, there's 6 squares from point A to my mirror. So that means from my mirror to the second vertex of A, there's going to be 6 squares away. The same for each vertice. So for C, you can see there is 1, 2, 3 squares. And so on the other side of that mirror line, we would go 1, 2, 3, and that's where C would be. You can see that in the second diagram here. Now, the next part where we're looking at vertex B. So vertex B, using my hand if you can't see me, has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares again away from the mirror line. And so to do vertex B1, like on the other side, we've got to count 6 squares away from that mirror line. And it's vertically, isn't it, below A as well. So you know, and then you can join those lines together to draw your shape. And that shows where the new shape goes if it's reflected in line 1. So this is another one to have a go at, another example saying draw the reflection when the mirror is placed on line L3. Now obviously the mirror, the difference between this one and the first one is that the mirror is the other side of the shape. So in this case, you're counting in the other direction to work out how many squares there are between the shape and the mirror line. And it's exactly the same process. So B is 3 away from the mirror line, A is 3 away, and so counting the other side, you would count 3 along, and so on, and then you would end up with your shape just so. So let's have a go then. Let's have a look at this one. Complete the reflection of the triangle in L2. So now this has done for you the vertex A, because when it's like a second one, you can see it like a little 2 next to it, so A2. So they've started the reflection for us. Now I think I can, let me have a look. If I go to my pointers, I'm going to try and put a pen. There we go. So B. Let's look at vertex B. Now B is 1, 2 away from the mirror line. So if I keep directly below where it is and go 1, 2, B is going to have a point just here, like that. And I'm on this. Now this might not be very clear. Let's have a try. So B, that's not too bad. Oh dear, my 2's a bit dodgy. But there you go, there's B2. Now look at C. So C is 1, 2 away from the mirror line. 1, 2. This is where C2 is going to be. Let me see if I can write my C2. Oh, that's better. And then, now this is not going to be very neat because I don't have the ability to use a ruler for this. You can use a ruler when you're joining your points. Then we would join our points together and we would see the reflection of the triangle, like that. There we go. Not the straightest, and make sure you use a ruler when you're doing yours if you've got one. Okay, now let's have a look at this one, because this is a mistake, and a really common mistake that people make. So Bella has drawn the symmetrical figure of ABC reflected in the mirror line L4. Now let's look at it on this side first. Now she has here's the mirror line L4, and here's our triangle. Now if you look at A and we were to count the squares to the mirror line, let's do that. I'm going to draw it on like this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 squares below A to get to the mirror line. Now let's see when she's drawn her second one. Oh, I've started on the wrong one, haven't I? I've done it the wrong way around. Okay, let me see if I can rub that out. Sorry, that's Mrs. Lodge's mistake. See if I can go wrong. Easy done. Let me rub that out because I've started on the wrong one. Here we go. Let's try again. So here's my pointer. Did anybody spot that? Because often you're good at spotting when I make a little mistake in the classroom. Hope somebody did. All right, so here's where we're starting. I realised because it said A. So A here is 1, 2 jumps from the mirror line. Now we've just worked out on the other side that the mirror line to A here, she's done 7 jumps. What's she done? She's just moved the shape up, hasn't she? She hasn't reflected it in the mirror line. So let's have a go at where it should be. It's almost like if you were to fold the piece of paper, if the reflection is correct, it should meet. Now in this case, that won't do it, will it? So this is 1, 2 jumps to the mirror line. 1, 2 here. Let's see. So this actually is where A. Oh, there's my funny writing. Now we're calling it A4 because it's line 4 that we're reflecting it through. Okay, so there's A4. Now B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah, this is where she's got muddled, isn't it? So B is 7 away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this here, instead of A4, should be B. Oh dear, look at my very large B. Ah, it's really difficult to draw with this pen. So there's B4, okay. And then let's look at C. Now C is the same level as B, so we know it's going to be 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so here is C4, like that. A triangle correctly reflected should look like this. And do you see how, if I could take this as a piece of paper and I could fold it like that up, the triangles would actually meet, and that shows a really good reflection that's done correctly. Whereas if we looked at Bella's one and we folded it, it's not going to meet in the same way. Okay, all right, so here's your work today. You're going to have a go at doing some of these in your Power Maths books. I've sent the pages and the page numbers through the email, and remember, if you haven't got your book yet, it's totally fine. You should have got all these sheets in your email. So have a go, remembering to think about counting those squares. Are you reflecting? You're not just moving the shape. And have a go. Sometimes it helps to draw in a different colour when you're doing a reflection, because that could make it a little bit more obvious. Send me some pictures when you have finished and let me know how you get on. And if you get stuck, please send me an email. Okay, good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.